Hi, I'm Bill Rogers, and I work in the area of behaviour management. This is the third in a series of videos exploring behaviour management issues and skills in schools. In this particular video, we'll be exploring two basic themes. The first theme is addressing how we can maximise the likelihood or increasing the likelihood of positive behaviour in our students by the way we set up a preventative approach. Secondly, how we can teach positive behaviour to our students, and most of all, model it in ourselves, so that we increase the likelihood of the best possible social and educational outcomes for our students. We're halfway through the summer break, and teachers are on their well-deserved vacation, can't wait to get back. And this classroom in this school is deserted, but first day back, there'll be 25 or more children in this classroom. If you're a high school teacher, of course, you can multiply that many times. And they'll be starting again the teaching journey for a full year. They'll be sorting out how they'll be working together socially and in terms of their teaching and learning. Teachers need a framework for establishing their classes, because the establishment phase of the year is that crucial phase when these roles are sorted out and how teaching and learning will work in this classroom. At no time of the year are children so psychologically and developmentally ready for the establishment of how they will work with their teacher. I'd like to go through with you the 4 R's that we use during the establishment phase of the year to set the tone of the classroom, and the first of these is rates.
It'd be nice to think that I have the right to feel valued, perhaps a thank you occasionally.
When I'm in the classroom, I don't like people laughing at me and interrupting me when I'm doing my work.
Caitlin, if big children pick on us, we can tell the teacher.
The right to be treated with respect, especially by students, by parents and by other colleagues.
Well, we have the right to be treated equally.
To expect support from policymakers.
I think we should be able to go over to the school and talk to the teacher about our child if we have the need.
The right to feel safe in the school grounds and not to have my property damaged.
We've heard members of the school community talking about their rights, a very common theme today. Whether it's a family, a club, a classroom, a whole school community, every community needs to understand its rights as it needs to understand its responsibilities. And the fundamental rights in a classroom and in a school are these. The right to feel safe, both physically and emotionally, when you come into a classroom or a school. And that is true for the teacher as well, of course. The right to be treated with dignity and respect. This is one of the most challenging rights for teachers to give some protection to, because when we're working with difficult, disturbed or disturbing students, they do challenge our willingness to give them that right to be treated with respect. And lastly, of course, the right to learn within one's ability range, with teachers who care and who make every effort possible for that student to enjoy and get some benefit out of the learning experience. But of course, these 3 fundamental rights can't be really enjoyed effectively in a community without the corresponding responsibilities. Rights and responsibilities need to be balanced. If you've got a right to learn, you've got to consider other people in that learning environment. If you've got a right to feel safe, you've got to consider other people in terms of the way they move in and out and around the classroom, down corridors, in the playground, playing safely, treating one another with respect and so on. When children come into a confined space like a classroom, 25 or more bodies, including the teachers, there are many responsibilities to consider, and some students may not have considered those or even be taught those when they come to school. Let's just take manners, for example. The basics like please, thank you, ta, can I borrow, excuse me when you're moving through personal space, using people's first names, putting things back where you find them, lining up, all of these things are responsibilities. And in the establishment phase of the year, a teacher will need often to teach those responsibilities, even putting chairs under the table, picking up litter, leaving the room tidy, putting felt tip pens back, making sure that we look after equipment. Even the most basic one of all, the way we enter and leave classrooms. These things are responsibilities. And one of the ways in which we can teach responsibilities is by making them routines, so they become ways in which the smooth running of this classroom can operate. Okay, Helen, hi. Yeah. Hello. Thomas. John. Hi, Thomas. Hi, Wilson. Can I ask a favour? Just take a sheet of paper from my desk and do a just plan of all the seats, the tables, with the first names of every student you can remember. Can you do that for us?
Yeah.
All right, thanks, John. Just over there.
What are we, at a wedding or something?
All right, folks, settle down and looking this way. All right, I don't know your first name. Mitchell. Mitchell. It's 4 on the floor, thanks. And looking this way. Nice hat. Take it off, thanks. And your hat's quite a nice hat too, but it looks better off. Thanks. It's Wilson, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good on you, Wilson. All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Mr. Rogers. Some of you I met from last year. I know Bianca, of course, and Trish, isn't it? Tracy. Sorry, Tracy, you were in my English class. You came halfway through. Do you remember that last year? Yep. Who else do I know already? Thomas, I know you, Thomas. And Guy, isn't it, Guy? Yeah. John's doing a seat plan of all the seats, and that will help me, and we'll put the first names on that later in the lesson. So welcome to English. All right, excuse me. I don't know your first names. Helen and Karen. Helen and Karen, I need you to look this way and listen, thank you. You'll need to know this. Now, I know that in home group already you've discussed the rights and responsibilities for all the different classes that you'll be working through this year. But what I need to make clear to you, this in English, is we've got some special rules and routines that we need. And I'd like to discuss those with you now. It's also important at this time of the year when we're teaching and establishing routines with our students to remember that not all of our students are primarily auditory learners. They're visual learners as well. And one way to support visual learners is to produce posters or diagrams just to illustrate key aspects of responsible behaviour. And the 3 that I most commonly use in the establishment phase of the year are posters that depict picking up rubbish and leaving the classroom litter-free, even if they didn't produce all of that rubbish. Second poster, looking at putting chairs under the table and leaving our part of the classroom tidy. And last of all, of course, the way that we leave the classroom. Okay, so just put your chairs under the table before you leave. And the last one. This last one's an interesting one. With the last one, I want you to just consider, last of all, in brackets there, all right, LOA. When you leave, last of all, I want you just to consider the people moving up and down the corridor, because there's other classes that are leaving now when the bell goes in a few minutes. And I just want you to consider moving down the corridor quietly when you leave the room. All right, thanks for coming. I've enjoyed working with you this morning. All right, off we go. Thanks. Okay, stop. Back inside, Wilson, back inside. Everybody back in your seats. Huh? All right, back in your seats. Now look, I don't give detentions, and this is not a detention. I never give detentions for a whole group. This is a group reminder. When the bell goes, the bell is a reminder to me to dismiss the class. Let's try it one more time. This time, chairs under the table, litter off the floor, every little bit of litter. I know you didn't make it all. There's a bit down by your feet there, Wilson. Maybe it's not yours, but do the next class a favour, eh? Just drop it in the bin on the way out, and chairs under the table, and just quietly through the corridor. Let's try it again. Thanks, folks. Okay, thanks. See you later. Bye-bye. Thanks, Thomas. If I allow the students to rush off like that without bringing them back, I've established something. And to use a tautology, what I establish, I establish. And it's very hard to reclaim that. In the establishment phase, we have a lot of valuable teaching moments that if we lose them, it's very hard to reclaim. For example, putting the chairs under the table and picking the litter up, it may seem like a small point. And I've worked with secondary school teachers who say it's not my job to remind kids to pick up litter. Well, if it's not my job, whose job is it? If I let the kids go, some other teacher walks into a pigsty. Also, for example, when I establish attention in the class, if I just talk over their noise with very long directions, I establish that that's okay for teachers to talk over noise. If I accept kids who call out or click their fingers, I've established something with my class. It's very important, for example, when we're establishing attention, I use that Daggy routine of tapping with the spoon. But if I don't get some signal, some attention-getting signal like that, even if I just wait at the front looking still and relaxed, or writing on the board and then turning around and waiting, if I don't teach those signals early, in a sense I allow my students to take the advantage of that and simply accept that as a norm, that the teacher will talk over noise. At primary level, for example, teachers use clapping signals, or even songs or rhymes or a bell. But it is important to teach those attention-getting signals. Even the tiny thing of tactical pausing. When we come to the front and the centre of the room, which in Western society is a traditional place for gaining attention of a group, it's important not to move too much. If I start moving around while I'm talking, especially with a new group of students, and if I'm using my hands too vigorously, or even if I'm standing here rocking like that, the more kinesthetic and motoric students may over-focus on my movement rather than on what I'm saying. So it's important to stand still, obviously looking relaxed, because if I send the message, if I'm not smiling and I'm all tight and controlled like that, I may send a confusing or an ambiguous message to them. I was told as a young teacher not to smile until Christmas. But if I stand there with that frown and stern look on my face, standing ramrod like that or to attention, my non-verbal behaviour will be a lot more powerful than what I'm saying. And that's why if I'm moving when I'm talking, I'm basically saying, don't listen to me, watch me. So it's important to stand still. When we're giving those first few instructions of asking students to look this way and to listen, and then introduce ourselves and introduce the topic or the units of work for the year and so on, and how this classroom works. Even there, the tiny establishment of tactical pausing is a very powerful, important teacher behaviour. If I start using long directions without tactical pausing, especially if it's over noise, again my students may be confused. I would rather say, okay everyone, pause, tactical pause, looking this way, thanks, and wait until they are looking this way before I then say, well, it's nice to see you all, my name's Mr. Rogers, and then start the ball rolling from there. These skills or these elements of behaviour may themselves sound small, but added together, they present a very powerful establishment message to the students. Rules overlap with routines. They give some protection to those fundamental rights we mentioned earlier. And it's important in the establishment phase that each teacher clarifies the essential classroom rules and also how they fit in with school-wide rules. At the secondary level, it may be important to do this on a pastoral, a year level or a faculty basis to make sure we don't have too much repetition and also to increase consistency across that year level. The rules should be few in number, simple in expression. They also ought to be enforceable and obviously enforced, providing of course the rules are fair. Give the students ample time to discuss with you in those first few sessions why we have the rules, the purpose for these rules, even rules such as dealing with chewing gum, eating in corridors and dress code and so forth. It's also important when we go out into the playground, consider how rules work there, and not just in the playground, in the corridor as well. For example, when we're moving down the corridor, we often hear students, certainly at secondary level and upper primary, sotto voce at times, using swear words. Now, Swearing's an issue in many schools today, and we found that by producing some visual, bright posters with the students' discussion, of course, that have phrases like, this is a reminder that this is a positive language zone, just a little poster like that on the wall. Produced also similar posters for presentation just outside or just inside the classroom going out, dealing with certain behaviours in the playground, ranging from how to have a healthy and safe playground, and also the way we treat one another and how we play when we're in the playground. And these too can be illustrated in that visual way. The main thing is that we've got some ownership by the students, some clear explanation, and last of all, of course, to publish this in the most user-friendly way. And at primary level, of course, send a copy home to parents. But make sure it's part of that school-wide policy of giving protection to rights. In our classroom, if we've established the rights, the rules, the responsibilities, and the routines that will enable for the smooth running of the classroom, we can then start to move into that cohesive phase, that really enjoyable phase that has rewards for both teacher and students. Now the students are cooperating with their teacher in the significant management of the classroom. There are many ways in which a teacher can develop this more self-directed behaviour, so we're moving from this classroom and this teacher establishing the class to our classroom.